Hello everyone, coming up tonight on Now, the Saddleback saga continues.
Will be light on the first time on payroll for everybody this week.
Allegations of work but no pay make their way from Australia over here to Maine, and
we were horrified that a little boy should be treated like this.
Beat up by the guards at Juvie, what the ACLU is saying happened to an 11-year-old boy in Maine.
a Maine community rallies to rescue a pair of deer that escaped after their enclosure was damaged in a recent storm.
This is News Center Now.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Lindsay Mills.
And I'm Chris Costa in for Lee Goldberg. We have breaking news tonight. A pedestrian walkway in Miami has collapsed, killing several people.
The Florida Highway Patrol confirmed the fatalities after multiple vehicles were crushed by the span near Florida International University's campus. The bridge was scheduled to open early next year and was designed to withstand hurricane-force winds.
We'll check in with News Center Maine at 5:30 and on our website and mobile app for more while this story develops.
New details are emerging in the prolonged sale of Saddleback Mountain. The Australian developer who agreed to buy the mountain hasn't yet closed the deal 8 months after it was announced.
We've followed this story from day one. On Tuesday, we aired a September audio recording leaked to News Center Maine that appears to show Majella Group CEO Sebastian Mansour telling his staff that he was buying Saddleback not with the goal of reopening the mountain, but to get in on a U.S. foreign investor immigration program. Christina Rex is here with more on this developing story.
Chris and Lindsay, a contractor and 2 former Majella employees in Australia told us they weren't paid for months of work. That Majella pay delay has allegedly made its way to Maine now. A Mainer and former Majella employee who worked at Saddleback is suing the company for almost $30,000 he says he's owed.
The plaintiff, Perry Williams, a Rangeley resident who was hired as a consultant for Majella on January 1st, 2017. The lawsuit says Williams and Majella agreed upon $5,000 a month for his consulting services on the Saddleback Mountain project. He says he was paid until February 17th, 2017, and then the payments stopped. On June 28th, Majella CEO Sebastian Mansour announced the company would buy Saddleback Mountain, which at the time had sat idle for 2 ski seasons.
Premier ski resort in North America.
According to the lawsuit filed at Cumberland County Superior Court, 10 days later, Perry Williams signed on with Majella as an official employee. He agreed to a salary of $110,000 a year plus benefits, but allegedly still hadn't been paid for those 5 months of consulting services. Starting on July 14th, the lawsuit says Majella paid Williams just over $2,000 every week, until October 27th, when the court documents say those payments stopped. On November 9th, Williams was let go, his position eliminated. A letter from that day shows Perry Williams was owed $29,711.54. According to documents, Majella agreed. That letter is signed by Aussie CEO Sebastian Mansour and U.S. CEO Fred Lamontagne. Williams claims in that lawsuit he still hasn't been paid what he's owed.
That lawsuit was filed on January 31st. Majella has requested multiple extensions for their response and has a final deadline to respond by May 11th. Now here's a list of people we have reached out to multiple times regarding what we've learned. Sebastian Mansour, Majella's Australian CEO, Fred Lamontagne, Majella's U.S. CEO, Jim Quimby, a Majella employee at Saddleback, Chris Farmer, the Berry family's advisor, Bill and Irene Berry, the current owners of Saddleback, and their son Mark Berry, another owner. All of our requests for comment have either been denied or ignored. Sebastian Mansour did respond to the Bangor Daily News request for comment and is quoted as saying, "We were looking into the EB-5 program, but it is not a priority funding model for Majella, and we're finalizing other funding models that make more sense for Majella to get this deal done and the mountain reopened. It should also be clarified that any EB-5 program or approval requires job creation and that Saddleback would have to be operational and running for use in any EB-5 program and not the other way around." And when the BDN asked Sebastian to comment on the audio recording we played on our air on Tuesday, in which he says he's going to miss payroll because the company is, quote, cash poor, he said he wouldn't comment on internal meetings or financial statements. Chris and Lindsay.
All right, Christina will continue to follow that developing story. Another lawsuit to speak about. The ACLU of Maine is suing the Department of Corrections on allegations that 2 corrections officers at Long Creek Youth Development Center in South Portland allegedly bashed an 11-year-old boy's face into a metal bed frame.
The lawsuit comes out of an audit that the department requested last year from an independent agency.
He should not have been brutally assaulted by guards.
A lawsuit from the ACLU claims that corrections officers at Long Creek Youth Development Center slammed a boy's face into a metal bed frame, knocking out his 2 front teeth. The 11-year-old boy, referred to as AI in the lawsuit, has ADHD, among other mental health issues. The ACLU claims those mental issues caused the boy to act out, throwing a tray in a cafeteria. Then, officers put him in an isolated cell, restricting his use of the gym and other facilities. The boy reportedly became agitated, banging on the doors of his cell and threatening to throw items at the sprinkler to set it off. Officers began removing items from his cell, including his shoes. That's when the boy spit towards the officers. The officers restrained him and, according to the lawsuit, bashed his face into an exposed metal bed frame. An audit of Long Creek, done by an independent agency last year, also mentions a similar incident.
When we learned about this case, we knew that it was something we had to do at the ACLU of Maine to try to get justice for this little boy and to make sure that this never happens to somebody else again.
We called the commissioner of the Department of Corrections to hear his side of the story.
The AG's office has weighed in very directly with me that I can't speak about that case at all.
The lawsuit also claims that staff at Long Creek failed to provide proper medical attention both before and after the incident, including providing AI with his ADHD medication.
No children belong in prison, and this little boy did not deserve the treatment that he received. We're hoping that this case leads to justice for this little boy and to make sure that this never happens to somebody else again.
Now, that boy left Long Creek on August 2nd and is now with his mother, according to the ACLU. We also reached out to the Attorney General's office for comment, but she says she cannot comment on pending litigation.
Attorney General Janet Mills says she supports more robust mental health treatment for Maine's youth. Well,
Today
Tuesday,
is March 20th.
Yeah, can you believe it?
We know what that's supposed to be.
Well, it's almost Tuesday, March 20th.
Right. In your mind, if you wanted to, whatever, I messed up.
Happy thoughts.
Yeah, happy thoughts.
Yeah, we're going to transport mentally there because maybe spring will actually bring us some warmer temps.
You know, Coco, I normally wouldn't even know the date, but March 20th is my birthday. So I was like, did I miss my birthday?
Happy birthday. Or coming
Happy
up.
early birthday.
I'll be 35, so.
What if you share a birthday with your soon-to-be kiddo?
No, he can't have it. He can't have my birthday.
Oh, boy.
Sorry. Only one of us. He can wait until 12:01 on the 21st. Anyways, current temperatures. Doing some melting out there, almost 40 degrees in Portland and Wiscasset, 36 in Bangor. Some snow showers though across northern Maine, most of this very inefficient. It's still from our storm system from 2 days ago though, still some of the troughiness and northwest flow that we saw from that storm. And if we zoom in here, down across parts of the mid-coast and into down East Maine, you'll see a couple of those snow showers. Again, having a hard time doing any accumulation because temperatures are so warm at the boundary layer. But into Belfast, into Rockland, and probably sailing just to the south of Ellsworth, those snow showers as well. So they continue tonight. Tomorrow's a decent day. We see partly sunny conditions. Temperatures, I think, just a smidge cooler, though, than today. So not getting to 40, probably staying in the mid-30s for most of us. And then we get chilly for St. Patrick's Day and over the weekend. St. Patrick's Day itself, probably around 30 degrees for a high, but it will be windy with wind gusts 25 to 30 miles an hour, and then even colder for Sunday and Monday. A lot of us will be in the single digits, guys, both of those mornings. But what everyone wants to know about is the potential for a storm system next week, so we'll talk about the scenarios in just a few minutes.
All right, Keith, thanks so much. The UMaine women's basketball team is on their way to Texas for their big NCAA tournament game.
It is a big game, but as News Center Maine's Jessica Gagne explains, the team says they have nothing to lose.
It's time to go dancing. The University of Maine women's team is on its way to Austin, Texas for round 1 of the NCAA tournament. They practiced here at the pit earlier today and then packed up their stuff, boarded the buses, and headed out to the airport. I am lucky enough to be going on the trip with them. I will be bringing you exclusive behind the scenes content and traveling with the team as they arrive in Austin, as they spend their time there, and as they prepare to take on a very tough Texas team. Now, the University of Maine has only made it through round 1 of the tournament once. That was back in 1999. They know they're going to be facing another tough opponent, but they think they're ready.
I mean, we don't have anything to lose right now. You know, we did like really good season. We play really good teams. So we are just gonna do everything we possibly can do and see what happens.
I don't think there's any pressure on us. I mean, being the 15 seed, you really got nothing to lose. I don't think a lot of people expect us to win besides ourselves. So going in, we're just gonna do our best, and really we feel no pressure.
Again, I am happy to be traveling with the University of Maine team as they head over to Austin, and I will be posting to our website and to social media as much as I possibly can. Follow me at Jessica Gagne TV and check out our website under the sports page, where I'll be updating a blog with all kinds of behind-the-scenes pictures and footage as you cheer on your Maine Black Bears in the tournament. In Orono, Jessica Gagne, News Center, Maine.
Now the airlines have become so aggressive in terms of dealing with what they call unruly passengers.
Airlines are cracking down on what passengers are allowed to do in the air, but are some taking it too far? That story is next.
A French bulldog puppy died on a United Airlines flight from Houston to New York Monday evening after a flight attendant ordered the animal be put in the plane's overhead bin. United said it takes responsibility for the incident, noting that pets should never be put in the overhead storage compartment.
Now, you may remember in April of last year, United faced backlash for forcibly removing a man on an overbooked flight for not giving up his seat. The man was dragged out of the plane by his arms and legs while other passengers shouted in protest. The man's face was bloodied from the encounter. Now, these incidents beg the question, what right do we as passengers have on an airplane?
The president and founder of Travelers United says saying no to members of a flight crew is risky. Our sister station, KHOU, has the story.
United Airlines has issued an apology after this dog died on board a United flight from Houston to New York. The dog's family says they were forced to put the dog in an overhead bin.
So you have to put him where the baggage goes.
The family also alleges the dog was barking for nearly 2 hours before the plane landed.
My mom got up and got the bag, and she took him out, and she's like, Coquito, Coquito, wake up, and he didn't.
A woman sitting behind the family says she now lives with regret.
Now I'm thinking about hearing that dog and not knowing that it was needing help.
If the dog was barking for 2 hours, what in the heck was the crew doing?
Charlie Lioka is the founder of Travelers United. He says saying no to a flight crew is risky.
Now the airlines have become so aggressive in terms of dealing with what they call unruly passengers that if you say, no, I'm not going to put my dog up there, or I want to talk to somebody else, all of a sudden you're labeled an unruly passenger, and you may be dragged off the plane like Dr. Dow was.
What are our rights?
We have no rights. Our right is to complain.
And the federal government wants you to submit a written complaint with the carrier. A Department of Transportation rule requires that airlines acknowledge written complaints within 30 days. They have 60 days to respond after receiving the complaint. In this case, what should have happened?
She should have made more of a stink, because where there's a life involved, whether it's a pet or a human being, normally the airlines will wake up and they'll do the right thing.
And United issued a statement yesterday saying, quote, we have learned that the customer did tell the flight attendant that there was a dog in the carrier. However, our flight attendant did not hear or understand her and did not knowingly place the dog in the overhead bin. United said in that statement, as we stated, we take full responsibility and are deeply sorry for this tragic accident.
Definitely important things to know before you get on an airplane for the next time.
Exactly.
Still ahead on News Center now, Keith Carson will grace us with his forecast.
It's a terrible feeling if you've ever had to go through it, searching for a lost pet.
In a Maine community, strangers launched a search party for a neighbor in need, helping to reunite one family with their four-legged loved ones.
Jovi and Pearl may appear like two unlikely pets. They love treats like dogs do, but they prefer apples and corn.
They really are pets. Like, pets don't have to be dogs. They can be fallow deer.
They live outside like deer do in the wild. A Maine winter is no bother to them. But when the winds picked up with one of the recent nor'easters,
my dad burst into my room and is like, "We have a situation."
A tree fell, collapsing on their enclosure.
The deer got loose.
Just pure terror.
Amy Hazelton was out of state caring for her grandmother in hospice care when she found out.
She put something on Facebook.
Jennifer Rue lives down the road.
Amy and I had never actually met.
She saw Amy's post pleading for help to find Jovi and Pearl.
She was frantic. She was upset. You could tell she loved these animals.
They're very therapeutic. I had a brain injury a long time ago, and I've been, suffering from that.
We rallied the troops and got people from Shapley and Acton, and Deputy Shaw was there, and got both the animal control officers, just put it all together, and we all met at the town hall the next morning and went from there.
After nearly 48 hours on the lam, the group received tips and tracked down the two, who stayed together, and they were found at a dog park 9 miles away.
They came over to me eating some apples, and all of a sudden they knew that I was going to grab them.
They're now back home and safe. The fence is fixed. An outcome Amy would have never expected if it weren't for the power of Facebook, dear friends, and their favorite treats to lure them to stay. And you can follow Jovi and Pearl's adventures on Facebook. We'll have that information posted in a little bit at our website and mobile app.
Hopefully no more storms breaking any enclosures or anything like that. And Keith, what do you think? Good news, bad news?
It could go either way.
We were just talking about Grace a moment ago.
I know.
So glad.
Grace is how I'm often described in front of the green screen.
Graceful.
We're going to start with, what's wrong with where I'm standing? I'm in the wrong spot.
Oh, no, there you go.
Is this right?
No.
I'm just messing with you guys. Let's go do it.
Okay.
Let's go do the weather. All right. Get some snow showers. Am I right? They're right. I'm not sure. Across northern Maine, most of us melted quite a bit of snow today, though. It's interesting that we do so even without that much sunshine. But think about the sun angle this time of the year and how it gets through the clouds enough to heat up a lot of these surfaces and warm us up. Jess, I have the wrong clicker, so I don't know if we can just advance that or. Oh, this is another clicker over here. This is going to go in my resume reel. This entire weather ahead. Okay, here we go. A couple of snow showers there. As I mentioned, we're melting snow despite temperatures not being that mild. We're in the upper 30s along the coastline. 28 in Greenville, 34 in Millinocket. What I was getting at is the March sun angle is strong enough to get through those clouds and still do some melting. And you'll see that still over the next couple of days with temperatures not all that mild. All right, there we go. Wind speeds, 29 miles an hour in Portland, 23 in Bangor, 20 in Millinocket. It will stay windy and get windier actually tomorrow and into Saturday. So that's going to put a little bite in the air when temperatures won't be that warm. Here are your future wind gusts. You can see them peaking up here through Friday afternoon, 30 to 35 miles an hour, continuing through Saturday, particularly along the coastline, so windy for St. Patrick's Day. Otherwise, though, relatively quiet. We see a partly cloudy day tomorrow. Temperatures in the mid-30s or so for highs and staying around freezing across northern Maine. St. Patrick's Day itself starts with a couple of snow showers in the morning along the coast. Then we end up clearing out and see some sunshine by later in the day. But again, it's relatively cool still. Temperatures only in the upper 20s to around 30 degrees. And then Sunday is a similar day, not much of a change. Temperatures cold to start. In fact, Sunday morning still on track for single digits in a lot of spots, pretty much everywhere. Only spot that might be warmer than that is Bar Harbor and Portsmouth, but I mean 10, 11 degrees. So we're almost 20 degrees below average. Sunday, we'll do it again on Monday morning. It'll be just as cold. As far as the storm next week, there's been some divergence now in the computer models, which may give you hope if you don't really want any snow. One of the models, the American one, still hits us pretty hard, but the timing has changed on both of them, such that it's no longer a Tuesday storm. Looks like it would be more into Wednesday and Thursday. But this is the American model, still with a significant storm. The Euro is doing something crazy where it doesn't hit us until Friday. So we'll keep an eye on it. But it's no longer looking as locked in stone, guys, so take that as it is. there's something out there, though, lurking around. It's just a matter of what day I think that it comes in here. So we'll watch that. In between St. Patrick's Day there, again, mostly sunny. There will be a morning flurry. And I think we talked about how much of a benchmark St. Patrick's Day is. Some years it is warm, like I've worn, not shorts, but I've worn short sleeves on St. Patrick's Day. This year will be full coat. So
yeah,
it's just one of those.
On Facebook, people are wondering how far into the spring it has snowed. What's the record?
You know, I don't know the latest off the top of my head. I know for sure there was a significant one in the 15th of May.
Okay.
In 1945, because somebody sent us all their clippings from all these weather events. But I'll have to look it up. It's probably late May, not accounting for elevation. Elevation may be early June. But I'll come back and we'll talk about that quickly.
All right.
And if you guys ever have a question, make sure you chime in on our Facebook live stream that's happening on our Facebook page, News Center Maine, every time we do the show. All right, away from the cold and on to happy thoughts, we're going to bring you to Pat Callahan, who's got a look at what's coming up on News Center Maine at 5:30. Hey, Pat.
Hey, Chris and Lindsay. There's a lot more news coming up on News Center at 5:30. The deadline to file signatures to run in the party primaries in June has now passed. The previously unopposed Republican candidate seeking a House seat from Sabattis, who's been under fire for some disturbing comments he made online, now has some competition. And students across the country have been protesting gun violence in the National School Walkout. Students at Brewer High will walk out tomorrow, but one student there has already taken action in his own way. We'll listen in. It's all coming up in the next half hour.
All right, Pat, thanks so much. Stick with us. More now when we come back.
All right, today's Brain Drops. Viewer question. He asked, when heavy wet snow falls off a root, how much force or weight is that going to put down on the ground? So, quick, we're going to do some math here. First thing we need to find out is how much does this snow weigh? So the way that we figured this out is we took water, so you can zoom in on this a little bit, Eric. We took water, 1 cubic foot of water is 7.48 gallons. We took a gallon, we know how much that weighs. All right, we multiplied that at 62 pounds per gallon, and it's a 5-to-1 snowfall ratio with a pasty snow. So that means roughly we divide it by 5, and that means basically we've got 12.5 pounds per square foot is what that snow would weigh. And so we assume there's 2 feet of it on people's roofs right now, 25 pounds. But scientists don't use feet, so we converted that to kilograms, okay? Then, in addition to that, we have to know how far it's falling. So we used 6 meters, which is 2 stories for that. And then the velocity here, we just used gravity and the height, and we came up with the velocity. Now we're calculating for kinetic energy. We do the math on that. We come up with joules, which is an energy unit. Convert that unit, though, to foot-pounds force, and we came up with 489 foot-pound force, which is a lot. However, and this is key, the snow never holds all the way together, all the way to the ground. Right. That's why it doesn't kill you when it hits you, because it falls apart. But in theory, if it were all one chunk, that's a lot of force coming off your roof.
I could have used you as a tutor many, many years ago. Maybe I wouldn't be here if I had your help. All right, News Center Maine at 5:30 starts now.